أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome back to another lesson of Perfect Your Recitation. We're reaching towards the end, which is good and bad, because the good thing is that we're closer towards perfecting our recitation, but the bad thing is we're closer towards the end of Shahr Ramadan. So inshallah we all can make the most of these last few nights of Shahr Ramadan. Today's lesson is a very simple but vital lesson. It is potentially a game changer. In fact, it is a game changer for a lot of us. And this lesson is the rule of Lam of Allah. Now, the Lam in Allah can be pronounced differently depending on the conditions applied. So the first condition is, if the letter Lam of Allah, the letter Lam of Allah is pronounced heavily when with a full mouth, when the last letter of the word before Allah has a fatha or a dhamma. So if the last letter before Allah has a fatha or a dhamma, the Lam of Allah is pronounced with a heavy mouth, with a round mouth. So, for example, Indallah. It's not Indallah, Indallah. You pronounce with the full mouth. The other day we went through elevated letters and we gave an example of how we can maximize on the elevation. Just raise your head when you're reciting. Indallah. The next one is Inna Allah. I want you to repeat after me. Inna Allah. Rasulullah. It's not Rasulullah. It's not Inna Allah. So if, for example, before we start adhan and we recite Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi, I hear a lot of people say Inna Allah wa mala. It's not Inna Allah. Inna Allah. And this is Rasulullah, not Rasulullah. Rasulullah. We just need to put a bit more emphasis in our pronunciation. And this is Yadullah, not Yadullah. Yadullah. So as you can see, you have the fatha or the dhamma before the Allah, means you pronounce the Allah with a round mouth, heavily. And then the second rule for the letter of for the Lam of Allah is, if there is a kasra, if the letter preceding the Lam of Allah has a kasra, then the Allah is pronounced with an empty mouth. It's pronounced lightly. So, for example, Sabilillah. So you see the Lam has a kasra. So it's not Sabilillah. Sabilillah. Or this one, Yattaqillah. Yattaqillah. Now, I've seen a lot of people swap the two and pronounce Allah heavy with a kasra preceding it, Allah light with a fatha dhamma preceding. So I know for a fact it's not that we cannot pronounce the Allah heavily or lightly, but it's just about trying to get the rule, understanding the ruling and trying to get it right and implementing it right. So remember, fatha or dhamma before Allah, Allah is with a full mouth, more emphasis. Allah, Yadullah, Indallah. But if Allah is preceded by a kasra, then it's empty mouth. Sabilillah, Yattaqillah. Nice and simple. Now we'll practice a bit. So the first one is A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. So before we start anything or before we even start reciting Quran, we recite these two. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahman. It's not A'udhu billah or Bismillah. I've heard quite a few of us recite it that way. So make sure that we are pronouncing it very lightly. So I want you to repeat after me. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Very good. The second one. Now this is very, very important because we recite this in our namaz and it's a very important part of our namaz, takbiratul ihram. If takbiratul ihram is wrong, then our whole namaz is gone, because it's a wajib rukn. So this one is Allahu Akbar. It's not Allahu Akbar. It's Allahu Akbar. Put more emphasis on it. Allah is the greatest. Why would you not put emphasis on Allah? That's how I would look at it. Allahu Akbar. And then Surah Al-Ikhlas. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. As you can see, there's a fatha preceding the Allah. So قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Allahu Samad. This is when we're getting up in our salah. بِحَوْلِ. Now this is the lam has a kasra before the Allah. So you pronounce with a empty mouth. بِحَوْلِ. It won't be بِحَوْلِ Allah. Do not overemphasize it. If there's a kasra before the Allah, you pronounce it بِحَوْلِ. And the last one, سَمِعَ اللَّهُ لِمَنْ حَمِدَهُ. We put more emphasis because there's a fatha before the Allah. سَمِعَ اللَّهُ لِمَنْ حَمِدَهُ. Hopefully that makes sense. Very simple rule, like I said. Very, very simple. Just two things to it. If there's a fatha or a dhamma before Allah, pronounce Allah with a full mouth. If there's a kasra before Allah, you pronounce it with a light, empty mouth. Very simple, but like I said, it's a game changer for a lot of us. I pray that we can perfect this recitation of Allah, of the Lamb of Allah, and inshallah take another step towards reciting the Quran perfectly. Don't forget to keep on practicing, and I'll see you tomorrow inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.